Hello, my friends. My name is David Kirby. I'm the director of the International Network of Wrestling Researchers. It's my pleasure to join you today in Komotini, albeit I'm almost 9,000 kilometers away. I wanted to join this outstanding symposium put together by Dr. Barbas and his colleagues. However, I have been working very hard on the Jacob Curby Cup competition that was just completed last weekend. Dr. Barbas asked me to share a few observations regarding our fight for wrestling. Of course, we continued our struggle during the Curby Cup competition. We were joined by the American wrestling icon Dan Gable and the leader of our Committee for the Preservation of Olympic Wrestling, former world champion Bill Scher. This helped to bring more media attention to our event. Our state politicians were also with us to present resolutions passed by our state senate and sent the IOC supporting materials regarding maintaining wrestling in the Olympics. The state of Illinois claims Abraham Lincoln as one of its own, and therefore his fame as a wrestler on the Illinois prairie was highlighted. Our opening ceremonies included a choir singing the Olympic hymn. As you well know, this was composed by Spiro Samara with lyrics by the poet Kostas Palamas, both of Greece. The original lyrics include, "At running and at wrestling and at throwing, shine in the momentum of noble contests, and crown with the unfading branch, and make the body worthy and iron-like." We know that wrestling played a central role in the ancient Olympic Games, as well as the education of its youth. The open-air courtyard, the palaestra, was a central part of the schools, those such as Plato's Academy, where the desired balance of body, mind, and spirit was honed. And the activity that was chosen and seen by them to be most suited towards this end was, of course, wrestling. Pale means wrestling. Socrates, Plato's most famous student, stated, "I swear it upon Zeus that an outstanding runner cannot be the equal of an average wrestler." Pierre de Coubertin resurrected the ancient Olympic Games and based much of the modern games on the Greek ideals. Among his many famous quotes is the following: "Holding an Olympic Games means evoking history. How can the IOC turn their heads on almost 3,000 years of history?" Wrestling is a unique sport in many respects. The placement of wrestling into a sports classification scheme is not simple. One such common scheme classifies exercise and sports on a continuum. At one end we have dynamic exercise. This involves changes in muscle length and joint movement with rhythmic contractions that develop a relatively small intramuscular force. On the other hand, there's static exercise, involving the development of large intramuscular force with little or no change in muscle length or joint movement. Most physical activities include some of both static and dynamic components. For example, roller skating has low static and high dynamic demands. Wakeboarding has principally high static and low dynamic demands. Wrestling has both high static and high dynamic demands. This creates a special challenge for the trainer and the wrestler. Another common classification scheme uses a continuum of skills extending from closed to open. Closed skills take place in a stable, predictable environment, and the performer knows exactly what to do and when. Skills are not affected by a changing environment, and movements follow set patterns and have a clear beginning and an end. Artistic gymnastics, where the apparatus is unchanging, is an example. The pommel horse does not move and is at the same height in every gymnasium. Open skill sports include such sports as basketball, football. The environment is constantly changing, and so movements have to be continually adapted. Wrestling is an open skill sport. Wrestling must consider the response by opponents and their tactics and strategy. The skill level of opponents and the physical qualities they possess is an important variable that is not controllable. Skills are predominantly perceptual and externally paced because of the actions of the opponent. For example, moving an opponent into the position most advantageous for a technique to be executed is required in wrestling. We are a simple yet very complex technical sport. Just as the ancient Greek philosophers appreciated the broad effect on the balanced development of the total person, the description of a wrestler, generally attributed to the great Alexander Medved, that being a person possessing the strength of a weightlifter, the endurance of a distance runner, the flexibility and agility of a gymnast, and the thinking of a great chess master, paints the picture of a sport with many paths to becoming a champion. Because of this, we see a sport for a diversity of body types. We see a wide variety of shapes and sizes, from the stocky Kurtnidze of Georgia to the long, lanky build of Saitiev of Russia. Wrestling holds a special place in the sphere of combative sports. There is very little brutality or intent to hurt the opponent. It is physically demanding, but relatively safe and non-violent. It does not involve or even tolerate actions intended to cause injury. Full go practices, no padding, no referees is the norm. I would have thought that the combative sports involving striking blows, especially to the head, would draw a greater scrutiny, especially in this day where we are concerned for the potential of chronic traumatic encephalopathy. The mission statement of the IOC states that its role is to, and I quote, to support the education of youth through sport and to dedicate its efforts to ensuring that, in sport, the spirit of fair play prevails and violence is banned. Wrestling is the perfect sport in an educational environment for young people. The evaluative criteria ostensibly used by the committee recommending the elimination of wrestling from the Olympic program does not provide for discrimination of magnitude or weight, or how different areas are given priority. Their decision seems to indicate that administrative relations between the IOC and the international federations are more important than participation and worldwide distribution of the sport. I would like to conclude my remarks with a poem I wrote the week after the misguided IOC recommendation was made in February. The title is Our Friend. The week began with a revelation. We felt the world shiver. The Pope was stepping down. And as modernity and tradition continued to collide, next day brought another decision, as a great friend was pushed aside. Mankind groaned. Violent rumblings began in the Urals, spread a startling shudder to every land. Connected to our brethren by a global network, we felt a firestorm of deep passion, a connection so profound. Anger, emptiness turned into determination to celebrate and save our friend on a journey of deep rediscovering. True meaning is in the essence of humanity. He has been with us since antiquity, part of survival, a part of life, natural, innate, a friend found in all cultural cradles of birth, from the deltas of Nubia to the desert steppes in Asia. He traveled with us across every stretch of earth. We call our friend by many names: wrestling, Pale, Kushti, Guresh, Badaba, Lut, struggle, balk, strife. He strips us bare and reveals our strength, skill, concentration, and the will to find a way. Our friend has shown the world sacrifice, toughness, sisu, fair play, and honor in defeat. We hold dear the heroes he has inspired throughout history. Jacob, Gilgamesh, Odysseus, Milos, Lincoln, Tokti, Gable, Medved, Aik, Karelin, Yoshida. The generation of tradition ages, with anxious gaze on their sons and daughters, assured by confidence and humility from their walk with this friend, as they step into another battle. Let us hope that he has taught us well. Life is love. Wrestling is life. Wrestling is our love. Thank you, friend. Tikanis.